For me, I've been working in agriculture for 5 years. I've moved into the position through inheriting the company. It's been a huge learning process, but being the general manager at DynAgra is about really servicing the customer. We're here to bring new technology to the farm. We're here to bring innovation. And for us, AVAIL is one of the innovations that really we see brings profit to the farm. And for me, that's very important because we're a small company. We're playing with some big line companies. We're family owned, family run, and the only way to compete in the market is to bring innovation and differentiation in the marketplace. We adopted the AVAIL technology through the recommendations of our agronomist. Our agronomist has been working with soils for over 13 years. DynAgra does a lot of soil testing, and he does a lot of recommendations, and through those recommendations we recognized that we had a lot of calcium and magnesium in the soil, and that AVAIL would be a fit for our growers in really enhancing the phosphate that they put down in the season. The use of AVAIL on canola, wheat and barley has really increased the yield. It's also increased the structure of the root. We've seen early maturity in both wheat and barley and canola. In Western Canada, we have a short growing season. We're always pushed to get the crop in the ground early, and we're always pushed in the fall and concerned of frost. So we've been seeing with AVAIL, by applying the AVAIL to the phosphate, we've seen the maturity of the crop move forward and mature quicker so that we can get it in the field and harvest that crop quicker. And that's important for us in getting the bushels in the bin and also looking at the overall quality of the crop that comes off. If you can get a crop off early, then you're really seeing that you've got the bushels there and the quality's there. So it's really important to our customers. Our customers are primarily seeding in the spring and fertilizing in the spring, all one pass. So what we're seeing is the customers coming in, taking an NPKS blend. They want to put it all down at once. And that can sometimes be difficult to do. So we're seeing the customer use AVAIL. Sometimes they'll drop the pounds per acre of phosphate that they're putting down and substitute that with AVAIL. And we see that they're still getting the response from the plant through the phosphate that's being put down, even though it's at a lower rate. We're seeing customers use AVAIL to cut their phosphate levels and to sustain their phosphate levels. A lot of customers see the value of early phosphate intake with the plant. We recognize that root development and phosphate are very important. And if you have the phosphate available to the plant at an early stage, the root development will be there and therefore allow for the plant to quickly uptake other nutrients, quickly mature and quickly develop. And so even though we are seeing some customers cut rates, we are also seeing customers continue to stay with the same rates because they see the value of having high quality phosphate in that soil and having it available to that crop. Also, we're in a colder climate, so in a cold seeding environment, there is a concern, is there available phosphate in the soil? And when you're able to place that phosphate and make sure that it is available and that it isn't going to get tied up, we feel more confident that that plant's going to take off in a harsh growing climate or harsh growing conditions. One of the specific results where we saw AVAIL increase in the maturity of a crop was with a barley crop that was planted extremely late in the season. We had very moist seeding conditions, and we were having a tough time getting into the field. And what we did was apply AVAIL to the phosphate, and we were worried that because of the short growing season, we weren't necessarily going to get a good crop. But through the application of AVAIL, we were able to get a fairly significant bushel rate off that barley when we thought that possibly it would go for silage. And that really paid dividends to the farmer. My overall take of AVAIL as a product has been that it's easy to apply to the phosphate. You know, there's a number of different ways to do it. If you're running a batch blending system, you can put a sprinkler unit into the batch blender. We've got a volumetric system that has an automatic application of AVAIL. And when we first started out, we actually were just using a normal watering bucket and going into the top and dumping it onto the phosphate. So overall, because it's such a low volume, you're talking about 2 liters per ton, it's easy to apply to that phosphate. It's not very bulky. The growers see the response. We've also been able to sell AVAIL in the fall. We don't have problems with AVAIL coated phosphate sticking up in the bins or causing any problems with the fertilizer. So again, AVAIL dries properly to the fertilizer kernel and really doesn't change the phosphate product. And that's really important. The last thing you want to see is a product that, yeah, has some benefits, but ends up gumming up your seeding equipment. So AVAIL has done a great job in, you know, enhancing that phosphate, but really not changing the characteristics of the fertilizer in a handling procedure. Offering AVAIL to our customer base has been a great success for DynAgra. We have customers that believe in AVAIL, and through believing in AVAIL, they believe in DynAgra. And because we've invested in the application equipment of AVAIL on our blending plants, our customers are coming back to us saying, well, you know, yeah, I know the competition has the same price of phosphate, but you've got the ability to apply the AVAIL. So I'm going to come buy my phosphate from you. Again, differentiating ourselves in the marketplace and really showing the growers that we're looking out for them.